Why would the Los Angeles Board of Supervisors hold 10 official public meetings in Washington, D.C., 3,000 miles away from their jurisdiction? Freelance journalist Janet Levy went back to find out.
Well, I was astounded to learn that there was going to be a meeting with the LA County Supervisors in Washington, D.C., covering 5 very important issues that were going to be major budget items. I know that, full disclosure, was the news behind the news, that this was a story that would be very appealing to them. So I approached them and told them that I would like to attend and report back to the public what was happening in Washington.
But she met with stiff resistance when she showed up, prepared to document on video what happened.
We weren't allowed to get into 5 out of the 10 meetings, so we were denied entry into 5 of the meetings that were supposed to be open to the public. In fact, the public was permitted to speak at each of the meetings.
Supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Veteran newsman and longtime editor of the Los Angeles Daily News, Ron Kay, was appalled at the way Ms. Levy was treated by the most powerful elected officials in Los Angeles County in California.
It is just such contempt for the public, the law, and the processes. And for what purpose? The ostensible agenda, I wouldn't believe for a minute. They're there to cut deals behind the scenes.
Janet explained what happened.
Well, we arrived at a few meetings, and we were told that the meetings were canceled. And I said, well, there's a meeting going on right now. And they said, well, that's a private meeting. We have 2 supervisors in that room, so the public doesn't have to be admitted to that particular meeting. And I said, okay, according to the Brown Act, but your agenda specifically states that the members of the public will be invited to these meetings.
Oh, we're with Full Disclosure Network in Los Angeles. We were told by Judy Hammond.
It's not a public meeting, so you have to get out. We're not making it public.
Well, according to the agenda, it said the public would be welcome at the meeting.
It's not a public meeting because it's only going to be 2 board members.
Which supervisors will be here at this meeting?
I'll tell you that as soon as you leave.
You will tell me that? You won't tell me which 2 supervisors will be at this meeting?
As soon as I can talk to people. Is that okay?
Yeah, because the public was invited to this meeting.
Okay.
The public was invited to speak at the beginning of the meeting. We came all the way from Los Angeles to Washington. It's a historic meeting of the LA County Supervisors coming to Washington, D.C. to vote on, to discuss issues that are of concern to Los Angeles County voters.
Okay. There's only going to be 2 supervisors.
We were told we could attend this meeting. In fact, Judy Hammond, the LA County Public Information Officer, was surprised that we weren't allowed in this morning's meeting with Jane Harmon.
Ma'am, I'm not a press person, so if you want to talk to me, turn the camera off. Okay? I don't want a camera in my face. I don't want to...
The supervisors were apparently perplexed by having someone actually attempt to attend their official meetings.
Following the Barbara Boxer meeting, some of the supervisors were gathering in the hallway, awaiting the next meeting, and I walked over to hear what they were talking about. There were 4 supervisors and staff members in kind of a huddle, and I walked close to them to see what was going on, and he actually held out his hand and said, "Do you mind? This is a private conversation." And I was really taken aback by that approach, that I wasn't... And, you know, actually, what I think was going on in that huddle was Gloria Molina was reviewing the Brown Act, because she seemed to be leading that huddle. She was discussing the provision in the Brown Act that if 2 or fewer supervisors were in a meeting, that the public didn't have to be invited.
How many people were deciding how many people were going to be in each meeting?
It looked like about 5 or 6 people in a huddle. 4 of the supervisors, a couple of staff members, and they were trying to figure out a way to override the Brown Act, and Molina was coaching them on how they could do that.
The story of them trying to block you out, of holding a meeting there out of the public scrutiny, and it's not just them. Understand, you have your congressional delegation participating willfully and consciously in what they all know, because these are experienced people, is an abuse of the law and of the public processes. But to have a quorum to have a majority of your board, let alone the full board, at hand participating in an event with the compliance and agreement of our congressional delegation ought to be something that shocked everybody.
The supervisors and their staff were bothered by the audacity of Ms. Levy showing up to cover a public meeting.
We noticed at that meeting that some of the supervisors were sitting on a couch in her reception area. And we kept our cameras outside of the meeting in the hallway, and some of the supervisors would come out and look and come out and look and go back in. My feeling was that they wanted to go into the meeting and they wanted to make sure that we weren't there filming more than 2 supervisors in the actual meeting room.
Worst of all, this was a junket, a party. I mean, how much business was being done and what was achieved is it's hard to believe anything was achieved.
Did they conduct themselves in a meeting format? Was there motions made? Were there any kind of vote taken or any positions that were decided during any of these meetings that you did get into?
Not at all. In fact, the impression I had was that everything was decided ahead of time, and there was no debate on any of the issues, no discussion.
By excluding Ms. Levy from the meetings, the Los Angeles Board of Supervisors crossed the line of California law.
Yeah, I found out that the meetings couldn't be canceled without 72 hours notice to the public, and of course that didn't take place. At the end of the second day, the agenda was posted next to the county seal on the door of the county offices, and not one meeting was marked or stamped canceled. The impression was that they were all open to the public. There was nothing stated to the contrary, nothing written to the contrary.
Do you feel that you were treated properly?
No, I felt as the only member representing Los Angeles County taxpayers, I was treated very poorly. I wasn't given any information. I wasn't allowed to speak at most of the meetings. I wasn't allowed to be in half of the meetings. No, I felt that there was there were deals going on away from the public eye, and the public really wasn't wanted at any of these meetings.
How do you feel now that it's all behind you? Do you feel this was a worthwhile experience?
Yeah, I think it's a worthwhile experience to look at the workings of our county government, that they would take a trip at taxpayer expense, 2 days in Washington, D.C. to discuss issues of such import, 5 issues, and the citizens of the county can't possibly be aware of what's going on with these issues. They would go back without any public participation. And I asked them about prior meetings on these issues in the county, any follow-up with the citizens of Los Angeles County, and I didn't get any information about that. I don't think there's going to be any.
From the way you were treated and what the outcome of what happened, do you feel they ever had any intention to make these meetings public?
No, I think they were astounded to see me there, Jane Q. Public, with my camera crew, and it was a shock to them that the public was in attendance, that this was supposed to take place away from the glare of the public.
And I think the whole story of it is one that is so shocking that as you tell this story to the public, it boggles the mind that they could be so totally arrogant and abusive.
They were making deals for funding in Washington. They didn't want the public to know about it.
Would you say that this is something that the district attorney should look at?
Well, absolutely. He enforces the Brown Act violation and can certainly investigate it.
This is just a brief excerpt of the whole shocking story. You can learn all the details about the agenda items that weren't discussed and the elected officials who were involved in the so-called official public meetings held away from the public view. All of this is available on the Full Disclosure website, or you can order a copy on DVD. Full Disclosure will continue to bring you the news behind the news.